Obviously, it's hard. You don't think of those things, back then. But no, I don't think I would imagine it. I feel like coming to the season, I feel like it was just going to be opportunities I was going to be given, and just to show it, and to be able to myself to be able to take those opportunities and be able to make the best out of it. Brought me to this place I am here, and I'm so grateful for every moment I got. Every opportunity I got, players, staff, family. So yeah, like I said before, I'm just so grateful and happy to be here. Yeah, obviously, it's not nice as the U.S. to lose Mexico, but I feel like now it's just opportunity to kind of like revenge, kind of, but also just meet those players as well. I'm gonna see them now. I'm gonna see them in Leagues Cup. First we play Pumas and Atlas, so and a lot of players in the Mexican national team are here now for the All Stars. So it's just just to talk to them and not only meet them but try to beat them as well. There's a lot, Buongo's also one of them. Kai Wagner's a amazing player. I have all the guys from the national team that I've played with. But I think the one that really sits with me is Evander. He's such a player that I've watched. Obviously he scored 2 goals against us when I was away, and I was just telling him, I wish I was there, to play. But it's just he's one of those guys that's a very special player. He's just amazing person off the field as well. So yeah, definitely him. Um, when I was 9, I scored 5. When I was smaller, I was a striker, a right winger. So I used to score, a lot of goals, and there was just times where I'd have 3, 4, 5 goals, But I think when I was younger, it was easier for me because I was fast. I was one of the bigger guys, so just getting goals it was easy. But yeah, 5 goals. Yeah, I feel like that partnership we've done so well with Orlando, and I feel like having him here is just another example of what me and him have produced in MLS. And I feel like now is just to showcase that at a world stage at MLS All Star Game. So it's just something I'm so happy for him, but also happy that we're able to be able to share the field again.
Alex, congratulations on being an MLS All Star, trade goes from Black Players for Change. So I wish you congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you about your demeanor on the field, and also, obviously, this is it's a national event, being a tentpole event. Talk about your demeanor and your personality. Where do you take that from? Where do you get that from? Whether it's growing up in South Florida, obviously being from an athletic family, very competitive, but it's someone you grew up with, neighborhood.
Yeah.
How you build that demeanor?
Yeah.
Where do you get that from?
Yeah, I feel like personality wise, I'm very competitive. I feel like I get that from where I've come from. I come from an athletic household. Obviously my dad played football, but also personality is being grateful. I got that from my mom and my other families that didn't get to have much growing up. Are now able to live comfortably. And I think that's one of the things that I do every day is I tell people how grateful I am with this opportunity. I never let that go down and just be able to be thankful for everything I've have. Not take anything for granted, and just keep working and working and try to get the best I can be at everything I do.
Obviously, you're playing in the All Star game, of course, even before that, the skills challenge. The scouting report says dangerous from set pieces. Got to watch them on the headers, but what do you think about yourself creating contact off of volleys, trying to win that competition?
Yeah, I feel like it's something different, but at the end of the day, it's something that I think I've improved on this season. It's something that I can showcase, at this All Star Skills Challenge. So just to be able to be able to cross, be able to finish, just be able to be in that part, showcase that ability that many people haven't seen yet, and I think this is just a perfect opportunity to do that.
During your time alongside MLS Next Pro, how do you feel like that just helped you develop into the player you are today and help you get to where you are?
Yeah, I feel like being there, I was with different coaches, different philosophies, and I feel like just be able to play there and get 90 minutes consecutively, was just a thing for me that I needed, especially developing. I was 17 when I signed, obviously when you first sign. Maybe you're not ready right away. Just be able to develop in that league. I was able to be there for 3 years, and I feel like my last year was when the year I actually broke out. Being able to develop, and be able to, be that asset to go score and assist as a right back. That you don't really see often in the world. So I feel like just being able to showcase that more and more in that MLS Next Pro League got me to be able to get the opportunity this year to play and be able to showcase that.
What about players who are currently playing in MLS Next Pro? What advice would you provide to them in order to kind of follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, just to be confident. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to be confident in order to play this game. You can't go over there scared, or else nothing will come to you. And also be able to, want to showcase and want to be better. I feel like a lot of people at MLS Pro that are young, maybe they're too comfortable, they're cocky. Just be humble. At the end of the day, coaches see that. Coaches see that what the work you put in. The attitude you bring towards the field. So just to have that right mindset and that right attitude, it can go a long way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously he was a professional athlete. One of the best in Packers history. Obviously, he wasn't that big into soccer until I started playing. He doesn't really give me that soccer aspect, but he gives me the aspect of working. He's obviously is the work rate. He's been in the professional athlete area for 10, 15 years. So just to get that aside from him is just so important. He's been there putting in the work, and just gave that side. He has experience. At the end of the day, he's been there for me ever since I was a young kid. And it was just being able to learn from him growing up. He wasn't as tough as I thought he was going to be on me, but it was a good thing to be able to grow and be able to, just want to do good for him. And just to always have that support from him was just so amazing. Obviously, after his career, he's gonna eat whatever he wants. So, but I feel like I'm not trying to get too big. He kind of tells me that he doesn't want me to get too big because that won't be able to move fast enough, be quick enough. So, I feel like obviously I'm big, but I think he still got me a little bit. I think football is a different kind of weightlifting at the end of the day. So, yeah. Uh, I think he knows what a good goalie he is, and how much he means for this club. I feel like him going here, I feel like he's just gonna have the confidence to be able to go and be able to perform. I mean, at the end of the day, MLS Pro this year, he's been amazing for the team. He's been very, very well. I think the team needs him every game. And I feel like that's just a showcase that he can do now at the MLS Pro Goalie Wars. And I have no doubt that he's going to perform and win it. And so I hope he just brings it home, because I know that he can. And I know how much of a competitive person he is as well. So I have so much faith in him. Yeah. And he's right behind you as well. So, yeah. Yeah, obviously friendlies, the friendlies didn't go as we planned, but at the end of the day, it was something good competition to go before the Gold Cup, great competition. And I feel like the switch was just that, all right, now that we passed 2 friendlies, now the games matter. Now we need to win. And I feel like that switch, everybody on the team, knew what had to be done. And I feel like, it started with the center backs with Tim Ream, the captains, the veterans, who told us that now it's time, those games are away. We can't worry about them anymore. Now we have to worry about the next games. And so now it was just that switch that we were able to switch and be able to go all the way to the final, which I'm very proud of the group for. Yeah, it's kind of hard, to reflect on that when so much stuff is happening. Right after I finish Gold Cup, I go right into games again. So the time to reflect was limited, but I always do think about it, of how grateful I am and what a great journey it was, to be able to, come out the scene so quick, but it's just, like I said, I can't be comfortable. at the end of the day, I'm going to need to work more and want more. You know, at the end of the day, I think the goal for me now is World Cup, and I feel like in order to make that, I need to be able to be my best self and be able to perform even better than I have before. I feel like it's just another thing that wants me to work more. You know, the fact that he has so much faith in me and he has so much faith in these players is just to be able to, support his faith and be able to show him that, I deserve to be here. I think I'm going to do that if I'm called in again or if I'm in MLS playing more games. It's just being able to keep working and working and try to get his credibility and get his, just be able to earn his respect. To be honest, it kind of happened out of the blue. I came in, obviously my first camp. I just came in to work and be very prepared. I starting the first few games. It was, the friendlies, it got split once when I started where I did it. And then going into the Gold Cup, I started the first few games. I'm like, okay, I'm really going to have to put in the work and be able to keep the spot. And then after that, it was just being able to keep impressing him at the end of the day. And he's such a great coach with so much passion and so much experience. And I feel like a coach like that is going to help us be able to make a good push in the World Cup. Obviously, you think that. Obviously, those are the things you want to think is that you can be the right back. You are the best in your position. And I think that's what I'm going to go in and do is try to be the best in my position and think that I am. So obviously right now, I think the goal is to make that World Cup spot. And obviously the goal is to win that right back spot. And so that's what I'm going to do until that World Cup happens.
Alex, I'd love to just kind of get your thoughts on this MLS a little so far there. Obviously, going up against Liga MX, you need to foster that kind of rivalry with Mexico. But also, too, there's a lot of talented players in MLS. Would you like to go back to the East versus West, or do you really enjoy getting up to go up against Liga MX?
I like going up against Liga MX. I feel like it's more of country versus country, and I feel like U.S. It's U.S.-Mexico rivalry has been going on for so long. It's a strong rivalry. I feel like it brings all of MLS together. You know what I mean? Instead of dividing it into two. So I feel like it's good for us to have this. I'm loving the format. Obviously it's my first camp, so the formats I'm not really picky about, but this format I really do like. And be able to do the skill shots before to compete against them as well. It's just good that we're supporting this competitive nature.
And obviously, anyone who's played the Revolution, you got to go up against Carlos Hill. Now your teammates, but I'd love to know, especially as a defender, what makes Carlos Hill just such a special attacker and kind of cause problems for you guys and you really have to game plan for him?
Yeah, maybe when you look at him, his size is not as big, but he's quick. He's very good on the ball. So I feel like he's something that's very dangerous. And especially Carlos, he likes to put those balls to the left wing, left back. So I always got to be prepared for that. But he's an amazing player. And we got to talk a little bit after the game just to say that we'll see each other at All-Star game and stuff like that. But, yeah, he's an amazing player. And to be able to go against, someone so honored in this league, so much quality, I feel like it's something that it's good to go against,
You also mentioned that one of the things that makes Pochettino special is that he cares about the players. Do you have an example of that that happened during the Gold Cup? It was clear that he cares about players.
Yeah, I feel like in the Gold Cup, I feel like after every game he would pull people aside and let them know that you're here for a reason and you're performing. He'll give back and he'll be like, yeah, you're doing good. He'll give you that reassurance that you need as a player. I feel like all players need that reassurance that you're doing good. And, that the coaches appreciate what you do. So I feel like all in all, I feel like he does really good of letting the players know that they all matter. And they all have a part in this team.
And you obviously are a young player that's gone through the system in various ways. What's something that you'd like to see within the youth soccer system improve as we continue to improve that system?
Yeah, I feel like the youth soccer system, it's gone good. I feel like it's been very good, but I feel like it's just more passion with the fans maybe, but also, maybe putting more money into the youth systems that you're able to do. I feel like putting more money in will help youth systems, make people want to come in and play more, rather than, some of the youth systems that are pay to play. You know what I mean? In that essence. So, and people that are not fortunate enough to have the money to pay, it might not be harder for them if they don't have an MLS academy near them. So I feel like it's just so many talented individuals in this youth system. It's just be able to support them as much as we can.
Is there one tip you give to someone who wants to be an all-star?
Yeah, I mean, being an MLS All Star is amazing. A tip I would give them is to never doubt yourself, because I feel like a lot of people doubt themselves in this. Maybe people like myself. I doubted myself even be called an All Star. And now I'm here. But that's luck. But you should never doubt yourself. I feel like all in all, you should just be able to always have confidence in yourself and your ability, and be able to apply that in the field whenever you can.
Is there still a novelty to being an all-star? Does it still feel like an event and an accomplishment even?
Yeah, of course. I feel like it's an honor at the end of the day, and I feel like now it's just being able to represent Orlando in the sense. So being able to go and be able to be happy and just have fun with it. At the end of the day, this is a fun event, competitive, a fun event with the players. So yeah.
On that competitiveness though, like how serious, like before you go into the game, you're thinking, all right, lads, this might be a bit more comfortable, then it gets competitive. Do you know what I mean?
Uh,
What's the balance? I suppose?
Yeah. I think people will have different opinions, but for me, it's a game. It's a competitive game. At the end of the day, when I go in there, I'm gonna win. I want to win at the end of the day. So I feel like that competitive nature is something that I always think about. I feel like going there. I feel like that's what I want to do.
Alex, I'm going to switch gears to leagues. As you know, Orlando's going to play Pumas, Atlas, and Necaxa next week. All really competitive clubs. How are you and the club approaching the tournaments?
I feel like the goal for us is to win it. At the end of the day, Orlando wants more trophies than they can. I feel like the goal is to be able to go to these Mexico teams and be able to, do our best. Be able to win these games. And be able to move on to the next round. And so these games are obviously going to be hard, but it's going to be something that can test us again and again, and we'll be ready for the test.
You talked about the goal for the World Cup was making that squad. Do you have any other personal goals and where do you see the next year to career going?
Yeah, I mean, I think personal goals for me is to win a cup with Orlando. Not only that, just try to be as helpful as I can to the team. Now I'm an MLS All-Star. It doesn't mean that, the work stops. I still want to be able to contribute goals, assists, however I can to the team. And just be able to keep my position. At the end of the day, I'm still working for, starting position in Orlando. Even if it seems like I'm not, it's something that, Oscar keeps telling me that you're not comfortable yet. You got to keep working. And so, at the end of the day, it's just to win a cup. And obviously that, World Cup roster would be amazing. So just keep working on that. Yeah, obviously, in the future, I think Europe is a goal for me. I think it's something that, I would want to push for, just for another environment, just something that I would want more for myself. But also, right now I'm comfortable in Orlando. So it's just to keep pushing with them and try to win cups with them, win trophies with them as well. Oh, I mean, that how much fuel more can you get? A team in your local area, MLS team coming up and not accepting you. I feel like it's just the most fuel I ever had. Just wanted me to work even more, and I feel like now I'm getting opportunities that from Orlando that I never had, and being able having to move in such a young age was something that I wanted to do because I had all that fuel build up. Just be able to go in a new environment, and be able to work my hardest and try to get recognition from the coaches as well. Yeah, I feel like motivation, now I'm motivated myself, just to be the best I can, and be grateful. Obviously in those moments you can put your head down and give up, but I think it's to be able to keep pushing in those moments it shows real character in yourself. The Liga MX? I feel like they're a good team. Obviously I saw a lot of them when we played Mexico. but it's just to go in there and give 100%. I feel like, we want to go in there and win. Obviously it's a talented group as well as us, but it's just to go in there and get a result and be able to, be happy on the way home on Wednesday.